Welcome back to the regulars, and if you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, let's have a drink.
So they can test it and say, in this flower, it's 37% THC, it's this much, this CBD, this much, CBN, CBG. So there's 155 different cannabinoids potentially in one plant. Now, I like to describe it like vitamins. So it's because it's easier to do it that way. So everyone knows there's like in a multivitamin, there's you could break it down and it's got vitamin A, B, D, C, and vitamin A does this for you, and vitamin B gives you energy, and vitamin C, gives you, good immune system, and all the things that all these vitamins do for you. Well, the cannabinoids are kind of like that.
Yeah.
So THC.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. My name's Cam. I'll be your bartender today. What can I get you?
Awesome. I'm Karie, and I'll have an Arnold Palmer.
Oh, right on. Okay, cool. There's your cup.
Thank
We
you.
actually have some of that today, so that works out.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's my drink of choice nowadays.
Drink of choice. So, you come to the bar, you ask for the Arnold Palmer. Why is that? Do you not drink?
I don't drink. I used to drink, but I'm actually in recovery. I consider myself an alcoholic. I've been sober it'll be 8 years coming up in August.
Shoot,
So,
congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, no more alcohol for me.
That's a big deal. Is it, so when you say sober, are you full sober or?
Well, I guess nowadays they call it California sober.
California sober.
Because I'm in the cannabis industry. I actually have a CBD business, but the first 2 years when I first stopped drinking, I didn't do anything. I didn't do cannabis or anything for a little over 2 years, and then after 2 years. My husband, who's also in recovery, he had chronic pain. He was suffering from chronic pain, and I was still having issues with social anxiety and things like that. So cannabis was suggested to us, and we got into that. So we started using cannabis, and then we found it being so helpful that we got into the industry and specifically CBD. So
Wow, that's really cool. And that's a thriving industry as of April. Was it April 1st that it popped?
Yeah, well, April 1st was when it became legal for recreational cannabis. But like even for us, and it's kind of it's when recreational cannabis came out. I'm happy for the state. I think the state needs it. We need the revenues, and I do want to normalize cannabis and have it be an option for people as opposed to it just being just alcohol or whatever. But honestly, for what we do in CBD, CBD has been legal in the states for a while, and it's actually legal in all the states. So in our industry, like we can actually sell the CBD to other states, and I could ship it out and things like that. So a lot of my stuff's online, but yeah, CBD it doesn't make your head high, but it's got actually more medicinal purposes than actual THC. So it's been around a while, but interesting enough, since it went legal in April, it seems like we've had a lot more people come into our business thinking like now they'll buy CBD now that THC is legal they'll buy CBD even though it was always available.
That's interesting. It's almost like it became more like socially acceptable.
Yeah, I think then people were like it was kind of funny. People were like, oh, now that it's legal, but I don't want to get head high, but I want the medicinal. So people do the research and then they'll still come into our store and say, I want cannabis, but promise me this won't make me high. Like they're wanting that. But what I kind of like to sum it up to make it easy for people, I'm like, think of it this way. Like if you use cannabis, like if you're using cannabis, there are two separate plants. There's a CBD plant, THC plants. They're actually two separate plants. And but like if you use THC, just THC, you're probably getting about 25% of the medicinal benefits, like the things that are actually going to help you with pain or inflammation or even with cancer and all the different purposes that it helps with. You may be getting like 25% of the benefit. If you're using just CBD, you're probably getting about 75% of the benefit. But if you're somebody who uses both, you're going to get about 100% benefit of the plant. So
that's why it's so important to then smoke the entire
it's just
plant.
so important to add, if you're wanting to use cannabis to help you with pain, or like if you look at the reasons, like let's just say before I was ever rec, and you're looking at the list of reasons why it was medicinally a benefit.
Fibromyalgia, all kinds of stuff.
For fibromyalgia, all those things. If you're not using CBD with it, you're probably not getting really the desired benefit that you could or should be getting from the plant. And so people assume that if they say they're just like, they love THC, they love pot, and I'm one of those. I love cannabis. I really and I like the way it makes me feel. It's never really made me paranoid. But you're just not going to be getting the benefit of it. You might be getting a lot of head high and stuff like that, but you're not going to be getting all the benefit. But a lot of people will be. They'll go to the dispensary and get like, I'll get the highest THC, and then they'll think in their brain, I'm doing so much THC that I don't need CBD because I already just I'm smoking every day, all the time, around the
always
clock.
Lit.
Yeah, so why would I need CBD? I have plenty. But it's so minimal in THC plants, a CBD. You're not getting enough of the CBD for it to do its benefit. So,
is it possible to have a plant that has equal parts CBD, equal parts THC, or is it pretty much
they
one
haven't
or the
designed
other?
one like that. You can get products that are like that because they're manufactured products.
Yeah.
So like my husband, for instance, he's in the oil part of the industry. He makes extracts, and so he's making CBD extracts, and you can add that CBD extract and put half of that and half CBD, and then you can make a chocolate out of that.
Yeah.
And you'll start seeing that more and more especially now in recreation. Like if you're somebody, and if somebody's listening to this and they're like really wanting, they're in a lot of pain. Let's just say mental or physical, they're just in a ton of pain. Then I would rarely recommend, but they still want to get head high, and they're in a dispensary and they have a product that says 1:1. You'll see them, it'll say like 1.1 ratio.
Yeah.
That would be the one.
That's
I would
like the
recommend.
sweet spot. That's the
they call it, but the only thing to do know is that the CBD will take the head high down. So that feeling of being
like
stoned
elevated
or whatever, the CBD actually minimizes that.
Okay.
So you'll have if you do CBD with THC, the lasting effect of it will be a lot longer of how it's making your body feel, but the psychoactive effect will be a lot less when you're adding them together. So that's why some people don't want to do the CBD. So if you're just doing it just for like to go have a drink, then just go do your THC and enjoy, but know that you're doing that more for fun. It is recreational then.
Absolutely.
At that point.
So you have to weigh your options. If you're going more recreational, pure THC is where it's at. If you're going more towards the medicinal, you need a combination of
Yeah, and for me, it was a big deal for me to bring cannabis back into my life because I was a big pot smoker in high school. So I graduated high school in '93.
Okay.
And so obviously then it was very illegal, and so I had to be very closet in my smoking pot and stuff. And I remember even when I first went to college, like I was one of the I went to school initially in Iowa, and the school I went to, most everyone was drinkers, and there's like me and this guy from New York, and we were like the pot smokers, and so we'd be like hiding, and it was I just remember being like so scandalous that we were like the pot smokers, but in reality I was an alcoholic, and when I drank I became an idiot, and I wouldn't. So an alcoholic's just someone like once they start drinking they're not going to stop, and that was my reality. I was either blackout, throwing up, or just passing out, or whatever the case be. And so it was probably better for me to be smoking, but it was perceived as such a rebellious thing, so you had to be so secretive. So it's just kind of fun. I'm just very happy that's starting to get a little more normalized, because really I shouldn't have been like if I could have been accepted more as a pot smoker, I probably would have drank a lot less to begin with.
Absolutely.
So.
And I don't understand why federally still marijuana is still listed as a Schedule 1 narcotic. And isn't meth like a Schedule 2 or a Schedule 3?
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're scheduled. I just know it's really bizarre how they do have it labeled, and a lot of that's just, to me personally, I just feel it's politics and the drug companies and stuff like that.
Oh, very
that
much
are
so.
Trying to keep it out. And some of the drug companies now are starting to get into the cannabis industry, of course, because they would be silly not to.
That's the only reason why it's going to go full legal on the Fed level.
So at some point it will be, which there is benefit. I mean, I do feel that if the pharmaceutical companies get involved, that the benefit will be that they will be able to take it to another scientific level and be able to. So in a cannabis plant, there's what's called cannabinoids.
Yeah.
And so THC is a cannabinoid, CBD is a cannabinoid. That's two different cannabinoids. There's up to 155 different cannabinoids.
Are those little like crystal looking things on the bud?
Those are just those aren't cannabinoids. Those are just like the actual, like the part that are giving you the effects, the THC or whatever. But I forget the actual. I'm going blank on the actual name. But in the plant itself. So after you get the plant, you can get it tested. So in the legal world, you have to get it tested anyways, and they test for, of course, like mold and pesticides and all that type of stuff. But they're also testing for what's in the plant. So they can test it and say, in this flower, it's 37% THC. It's this much. This CBD, this much, CBN, CBG. So there's 155 different cannabinoids potentially in one plant. Now, I like to describe it like vitamins. So it's because it's easier to do it that way. So everyone knows there's like in a multivitamin, there's, you could break it down and it's got vitamin A, B, D, C, and vitamin A does this for you, and vitamin B gives you energy, and vitamin C, gives you good immune system, and all the things that all these vitamins do for you. Well, the cannabinoids are kind of like that. Yeah. So THC does have medicinal purposes. It helps you with pain. It helps you with nausea. It helps you. It does help with keeping cancer cells from growing. So it has specific. It helps with epilepsy. There's different things that THC specifically helps with. Then you got CBD, and there's this long list of things that CBD helps with. Then you've got, let's say, CBG, which that's really great for anti-inflammatory. Then you've got like CBN, which that's really great for sleep. So each specific cannabinoid, like I said, there's up to 155 or more. There has specific benefits. And so when each plant, when they grow them or whatever, and they test them, different ones are going to be higher in CBG, some are going to be higher. So my point is if a pharmaceutical company takes over, they're going to be able to start extracting each one of those out.
They can literally have, this syrup will knock you out like melatonin. This syrup will take away the inflammatory. And it's like pure CBG,
it's going to be pure
CBD,
exactly. And that's how, that will be the future of it.
Okay.
That'll be the future, that you'll be able to go to the store. Well, and hopefully pharmaceutical companies will start paying for it, because it's the unfortunate part of it is that you can go get opiates in your you could be you could be on Medicaid and they're going to cover the opiates for you, but you can't depend if you qualify for pain and all this stuff. But then to go get a CBD that's going to help you, realistically you're going to be spending about $100 a month, and that's just not affordable for some people or a lot of people. And so so there's this whole mix in me that's like, man, it's so stupid. These pharmaceutical companies are are keeping it out, and then I see them getting into it, then I'm like, well, of course they're getting into it, but then I'm like, well, I guess I have to be okay with it as long as someday it's more accessible to people, because with the rec, now with it going rec, I'm a little bit concerned about the fact that people who think, like, they might know, like, in the back of their brains, I know THC is helpful, I know cannabis is helpful, and they just know it, but they don't really know the science of it, they don't know the breakdown of it. Even like my husband and I, we used THC for 2 years before we brought CBD in. Yeah. We were one of those that were like, we smoke it every day, so why would we need to bring the CBD? Surely we have plenty, we don't need that. That's like it's like the weaker of the strands, and we didn't realize that it had, like, it was a separate, like, vitamin. Yeah,
it's like something completely different.
And it had so much more medicinal, and we didn't realize that until we started using it on the daily. So now with rec, I can already see what's happening is some people are going in and they're using it, and a lot of these users are like people that might be 50 years old that haven't smoked pot since they're in their 20s. And it's so much stronger and better now. So they so they drop like one chocolate square, and they're so high. Yeah. They hate it because they're paranoid, and then they're like, "This stuff's so strong," or "Oh my God," and so. And yet these people probably are in pain, and they probably actually need cannabis, and so they already have decided it doesn't work for them. So you can't. So the conversations I have to have with people sometime to get them over this whole hump of why CBD would work, it's not going to get them high and blah blah blah. It's just another obstacle you have to get through, because It's just lack of education, but
yeah.
But it's getting out there. I'm seeing a lot more celebrities talk about CBD, and of course that always helps. So once they get it out there, I think even Tiger Woods is talking about it now. And someone had told me that recently that someone had bought it from me recently actually because. Yeah. They said they believe in Tiger Woods, and it was a very conservative older lady. She's in her 80s.
Wow!
And she was like, "Well, I saw this article with Tiger Woods with this last accident that he had with this car accident, that he started using CBD for his healing, and he was in such shock about the I guess the speed of his healing because of adding the CBD, and I guess he's just in shock about it. But he's like prime age for someone that would
absolutely
that would use it and need it and stuff like that. So yeah, this little 80-year-old lady the other day was telling me about. She's like, I think I'm open to it now because Tiger Woods,
Because Tiger Woods said it's okay.
Tiger Woods said it was okay. Yeah. Now I'll listen.
So what kind of business then do you cater to, right? Because I assuming you have a CBD shop. What's the CBD shop called?
So our shop is XOXO CBD. It's in Nob Hill. It's just a couple. It's in the same building, a couple doors down from 7 Clover on off of Solana. So Nob Hill. Yeah. So So the biggest question I get asked right now is, are you guys gonna go rec? Like, are you gonna start selling THC? And I get that from everybody. And most of the CBD, it seems as if many, I really don't know if it's most, but a lot of the CBD stores in town are going to become a recreational store. They are moving because there's more money in it.
Yeah, plenty of money.
And there's way more money in THC than there is CBD. So for me, my husband has another side business that he does with the oils and stuff, and that's really more for us to pay our bills and stuff like that. I really do more of the CBD stuff as a passion to help people in pain and for education. And so I don't plan on changing mine over because I just feel what I'm seeing is more and more people are coming into my shop in these last couple months saying, oh, my local CBD store I used to go to went wreck.
Yeah.
Or they just have way less products because they're trying to do both, but they're going to make more money in THC.
Yeah, so eventually going to switch
they're just seeing less, or they're finding that their bud tenders just really aren't educated. And it's one thing if you're going into a dispensary and you're like, oh, which one, and the bud tender might be like, well, this one's great, it really made me high, and this one I got a lot of stuff done, or this one knocked me out, and but when you're coming in for CBD, it's normally like, look, I've got arthritis, my mom has fibromyalgia, she's got Alzheimer's, she's really sensitive to this. I mean, we're starting to get more into, so my clientele are more coming in with elements.
Exactly.
They're not just like being like, hey, which one's not going to make me fall asleep and which one's going to be great for the concert. Like, these are people that are coming in, look, I've got this issue, this issue, this issue. Yeah. I'm dealing with crippling anxiety. I can't sleep at night. Or they get tested for THC. There could be that too, and they want the relief from pain, but they don't want opiates. Like a lot of people. Fortunately, more people are getting more and more in touch with how bad opiates are. Yeah. And fentanyl, which is the other big one.
Which is like the biggest killer in America right now.
Oh yeah, it's the number one. But it's the number one killer in America. But ironically, and I don't know if it's still true today, but I can tell you about. Let's see, how long have I been married now? So about 4 years ago, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a pharmacist here in town for Loveless. She works for Loveless Hospital. Pharmacist, and I ran into her randomly like a Target 4 years ago, and she had said that they had just she was all like mind blown because they had just done a study on the number one overdose killer it was a teenage, I think for teenage and young women. So it was young women between the age of like 16 and let's say like 25 or 26. It was somewhere like that, about that range, and the number one overdose killer for girls in, I guess, I don't know if it was Albuquerque or New Mexico, but here was Xanax.
Really?
Lorazepams, Xanax.
So is that a thing that's popularized by then like the rapper Lil Xan, or like because it's very prevalent. Xanax is very prevalent in like the club and the gang culture, right? Well,
it's Xanax to me is very popular with the modern day woman my age, and so like I know for me, I'm 47, and And most of, I feel like most of women around my age at one point were offered Xanax. Like I like, you know, so and it was an anti-anxiety to chill you out, you know. I personally feel that I've done Xanax before, just as prescribed. I've never taken them like recreationally, but I remember when I first did them, having the thought in my head, like I was like, this is the first like drug that I've ever taken that's made me feel kind of how pot makes me feel, how marijuana makes me feel, kind of chills me out in that same way. And I remember feeling that way, except without the head high, which is kind of what CBD does. Yeah. And so ironically, CBD to me is like the best natural alternative you could ever take for Xanax, but yet that's the number one cause of overdose deaths for girls in our state. And I think that people don't realize that. I think it's just a statistic that hasn't, like I'm was surprised when I first heard it, but when I really stopped to think about it, I'm not really that shocked, because a lot of young girls, because their moms do it, and you know, it's so prevalent. And even in opiate users, most opiate users are prescribed that, because if you're on opiates and you're on that much medicine, normally you're going to have anxiety and all that stuff, so it's prescribed. It's just so prescribed so freely, and most people abuse it. Yeah. And then for the young girls, I think where a lot of the overdose cases happen is because they're using recreational drinking, and they do what's called like Xan bars, where they're actually snorting it, and so on, and so many of that has led to instant overdoses and stuff like that. But I think it's something that people just, I don't know, I just think it's not talked about as much. I mean, it's one of those things that like people are like, oh, just do Xanax. It's like a hot thing right now. Yeah, it's thing right now, like, fentanyl and stuff is more what people assume for overdose and things like that. That's
what I just assumed right now.
Yeah, yeah. For men, I think it's more common and stuff to see that, but with the women, it's not. And I think there's a lot more people that are doing it more loosely with drinking, and that's the other thing that I think is not ever really stressed enough, is like, well, if you're going to be taking all these whatever pills, you can't be drinking, because
you're going to kill your liver. Yeah. So, you can't even take ibuprofen and drink, I'm pretty sure.
Well, you're not supposed to, but even especially with any of those other ones. So I don't know, it's just so in this, but to me CBD would be the best alternative for someone who's like, so if I can't, so Xanax what helps me, what do I take? For me, it's CBD. That's what you take, because it's not going to give you the head high, and it's going to give you all the things that you're wanting from that Xanax to chill you out. I mean, the biggest thing though is difference, I guess, is that Xanax you can take as needed. Yeah. CBD you really need to take more daily. It is something that you need, for it to be effective, you got to take it like a vitamin.
Yeah, because the vitamin, like, oh, it's Sunday, better pop a vitamin. That's not how the vitamins work.
No, you just take it every day.
And with CBD, no one has ever died from CBD, have they?
Or THC, no. Yeah. Or marijuana, no.
Because every year, thousands and thousands of people die every year from alcohol even, right? Yeah. Like I have it right here, right? Thousands of people die every year from alcohol. No one dies from weed.
No.
Period.
No. And
so why would it even be... Why? Like, why would it be banned at all? That's what I've never understood.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of shows on it and stuff. There was just a lot of politics and stuff around it back in the day. So it's just, you know, it goes back layers and layers within the within the system. But
from what I gather, it's because the government needed to have a scapegoat to target 3 minorities, specifically Black people, Hispanic people, and then hippies.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so it's luckily, hopefully it'll change, and I mean I think it'll change I do think that it'll change as people start getting more comfortable with to be honest, CBD and all the other properties, and not just getting stuck on the THC part of it. Yeah. You know,
that's only a very small part of it.
Yeah, I think it'll change perception of it and stuff. But it's still it's even though CBD is federally legal now, it's still complicated in terms of doing banking and insurance, and still all the little things that you have to do to make a business happen. Yeah. It's still rather difficult to do all of that, even within the CBD industry. So it's still years away from becoming, you know, very normalized. But
or you could have like I don't know, a pop bar. You know what I mean?
But it's definitely but I mean, if I could look back at where it was 20 years ago, and I mean, we have come a long way.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy for.
It's been a long way since I've been in high school, because I'm 24, so I was in high school 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember pot being like a thing where like you had to go to like, we called it Stoner Park, like
Yeah.
down the road, where you had to go there, and then if the cops rolled, you just had a dip, you know?
Yeah.
It was kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
And that park was really weird, and there was a lot of like needles, and it was not safe.
Yeah.
But it's come a long way.
Yeah,
It really
it's
has.
definitely different and now and but you know it's stronger now too. So I think it's
Oh yeah.
So if there's anything that gives it a bad name, I think it's just kind of when people like go and use it and then they're like, oh my god, because it's like so much stronger than what they
Yeah,
what
because
they
this has
did
been
years
like
ago.
mixed breeded, and they're getting like the ickiest of the stickiest.
Yeah.
Cross plant. Yeah, it's a.
But
it's
the
a
nice thing,
science.
but I do love how they can break it down now. So they can break it. I love how cannabis has now evolved where they could be like, these are sativas and these are hybrids and these are indicas and this one has got the terpenes of like a super lemon haze, so that's going to be great for antidepressant. And then there's going to be this one that might be really great for, you know, anxiety, and there might be this one that's really great for sleep, or, you know, I like that they could start breaking it down and stuff like that. So the worst is when I hate though when I think I'm gonna smoke something or have something that's gonna make me have energy, and then
It
next
just
thing
knocks
I
you
know,
out.
yeah, I'm waking
You're
up
like,
5 hours.
Great. I just
That's
lost my whole day.
That is like, and to me, that's like the biggest like negative.
Yeah.
You know, is that I might just accidentally sleep for 3 hours when I
See,
wanted
and
to get
for
some
me,
shit done.
That's what I live for, because I'm the type of person who I'll smoke cannabis once or twice a month maybe. And so because of that, me and my wife smoke so little that we split a blunt and we are gone.
Yeah.
Right? So it'll be like a fun evening or something like that, or we're at home, we'll smoke a blunt, and it's the chillest, best sleep I'll ever get in my life.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah.
what I use it for. That's what
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Cannabis is just a wide range.
Yeah.
So let's go back to talking about sobering. So you've been sober for 8 years,
Uh-huh.
and you said you're still in recovery. What does that mean? Because for someone who's not really knowing about alcoholism, right, it sounds like you're already recovered.
Well, I guess I just think, you know, different people look at it different ways, because there's some people that are like, I just refuse to say I'm an alcoholic anymore because it's a negative connotation, a negative, you know, some people look at it that way. You know, I go to AA meetings. I don't go to them I go like once a week. I might go hit like 2 a week, you know, but I'm not like, you know, I'm not like one that's there every day, but I'm still a part of the program. And so, I mean, in the program, you attend, I mean, just like any movie or any things you see on about AA, and they'll be like, you know, you say your name and I'm an alcoholic. And I guess it's, you know, I think the thought behind it is to remember that you're still an alcoholic. Just because you stop drinking doesn't mean that you're just magically cured of it.
Yeah.
And if I was to take a drink tomorrow, I would naturally fall back into that same path that I was before. That I can't just go back to casual drinking. I didn't just stop drinking and now I can handle myself. You know, you know. So I think it's to keep that constant in your mind that is a part of you. But there is some people that don't like to identify to that because then they feel like it brings them this negative thing. And so so it's just, I think everybody it has to treat their sobriety however they want to. And some people don't need meetings. Some people just don't really like the meetings. They just quit and they use other methods, whether it's other connections that they meet through people. Like I know I have a cousin who's quit for years, and she belongs to like a marathon group, and so they run, and that's their thing. And they're these sober people who are recovered alcoholics, but they do running and they do marathons and cheer each other on. And you know, I'm not saying that AA is the only way. I just know that's what worked for me.
Yeah.
But I say I'm in recovery because I'm always going to be in recovery.
Yeah, you always have that tendency. But what makes, because I've heard a lot about it being like a genetic thing, but I feel like so I come from a very conservative culture, right? And everyone I ever talked about how, oh, my grandpa was an alcoholic, my uncle was an alcoholic. Both my grandparents on my sides were alcoholics, so I have that gene.
Yeah.
I'm not an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So what makes an alcoholic? Is it just a gene? What is it?
Well, I mean, they say that the way it's explained to me, and a lot of my understanding of alcoholism has come through AA. And we have a book called The Big Book, the Alcoholics Anonymous book, and there's a chapter that talks about all this and stuff. And And it talks about that. For the difference between a person who's an alcoholic and a non-alcoholic is that a person who's an alcoholic, they not only do they struggle with it physically, meaning like an allergy. If I was to have one glass of wine, my body's going to kick in this allergy craving. The allergy is a craving. So like if you have a peanut allergy, your allergy might be a rash, and you might, or your tongue might swell. But for an alcoholic, you're going to have this automatic craving, like wanting more. So it's just your body produces this natural craving. And then the other part is there's a mental aspect. So it's a mental and a physical. Then the mental part of it is that no matter how bad it gets, because an alcoholic won't stop drinking, so they tend to be in a lot of situations where it gets really crappy, like whether that could be a DUI, whether it could be a really just a bad blackout situation, whether it could be like a toxic fight with a boyfriend, whether it could be like winding up in bed with somebody you didn't mean to. I mean, there could be so many horrible things that could go wrong, but then thinking, you know what, tomorrow when I do it, it'll be different. And so that's the mental part, just going like every time, like this bad crap keeps happening to me, but I think I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. And so there's like the two parts to it, because they say a person who's not an alcoholic, like they might have gotten so drunk before and they might even got a DUI, but they would be able to logically tell themselves the next time, you know what, like I'm going to get an Uber this time, or I'm just going to have 2 drinks and be able just to have those 2 drinks. Like, I've got a big meeting tomorrow, so I'm just going to go out tonight. I'm just going to have 1 glass of wine and then call it a night. Like a non-alcoholic can do that. But the alcoholic, one or the other is going to take over. So that's what they say the difference is. And so, if the person just physically and mentally just can't do it, then they're probably an alcoholic.
So is that something that can be like, what I'm trying to say here? So if someone start out as not an alcoholic and then turn into one, or are you kind of one from the get-go?
I think that you definitely can turn into one. Like if you're somebody that starts drinking and then you start drinking more and more and more, you can develop that allergy to it and that craving, so that can be like a developed thing. I just think that people who are born into it and have family members that do it, they just are. It's just like anything. I mean, they're like if you're in a family of ranchers, I mean, you're probably you're just gonna understand. It's just gonna be more natural, or you're gonna, think it's more normal. It's gonna be. I think it's more normalized with it, and then I think there could be something in the blood, the actual DNA of the person that comes over. But I kind of feel, I don't know, and this is just my personal philosophy, is that it's like with DNA, changing DNA with anything, to me it's like you changing that behavior and then the next generation not doing it. And that's where the DNA stops changing. And sometimes it's a changed physical, maybe, I mean, some of that physical traits I think could be tough, but I think a lot of times in that social behavior stuff, it's something that, if you could change it, then maybe you change it for your kids, and then they have a different life, and they change it for their kids, and then that DNA thing starts happening.
Yeah, that's almost like evolution.
Yeah, it's more like evolution, and sometimes I wonder with alcoholism if it's something like that, and I don't really know, but like with my daughters, for instance, I have 2 daughters. One's 26. She's a tattoo artist here in town, and then I've got a daughter who just graduated college. And she's 23. She works at Zendo Coffee down here.
Killer! I love Zendo.
Yeah, so she's still figuring out what her next move is. But I've noticed with them, like they definitely, when they come to me with their drunk stories of going out and all that stuff, they kind of be like, I don't know, Mom, I just decided. Sometimes they've had some really bad, some nights where they've gotten too sick and stuff like that. But then they'll notice in their friends tendencies of behaviors that like how I was, because my oldest was 18 when I stopped drinking, so she saw thick of it. She saw a lot of it and wasn't proud of me, that's for sure, and wasn't so I mean, I guess they could take that behavior and then go crazy with it and justify it like my mom did or I did, but I do think because I went into recovery and they've seen the difference, they've had now 8 years of mom being sober and seeing me in this other light, that I see them making these different choices. And so like that mental part that I was talking about, I see my daughters doing that mental change that I wasn't even aware of at their age, because no one in my family, I have a bunch of alcoholics in my family, a bunch of partiers. It's like the typical New Mexican family. Like,
what else is there to do?
Yeah, they just party. So I see my daughters talk about it, like in ways that I had never discussed it or saw. And I do think they talk about it because of them growing up with me and seeing it. So, so I feel like that's changing, hopefully changing the DNA of it all, so that by the time that they have kids,
it'll be like almost bred out of it.
Yeah, it'll be bred out. And so then they'll be like, oh, they'll have stories of grandma being an alcoholic, but they won't have gone through those behaviors of their parent, and their parents will be able to teach them different things. So then I do think, and that's kind of DNA too, in a way.
Absolutely.
So
as someone who is sober, you are not a prohibitionist. You're not someone who just thinks no one should drink alcohol.
Oh, no. I my daughters drink, like I said. And
you came to my bar.
Yeah, I came to your bar. I have no problem being around drinking. There's actually I thought it was pretty cool. There's a new bar in town. I guess it's new-ish now, but called Happy Accidents.
Yeah, Happy Accidents.
Yeah, and they have a menu of non-alcoholic drinks that are really creative. Like they have one that's like a take on a margarita, and so they put I think they have like prickly pear flavoring, and I don't know, they have all this like flavoring, and you taste it tastes like a virgin margarita, but it's so good and so refreshing. And they had another one that was like a take on I can't remember now, but it was like takes on different actual cocktails, but they're mocktails, and they had a whole menu of it. And now I guess came out as a result of some of their bartenders being sober now and recovery, and so they wanted to provide that. And I've also heard that it's kind of more trending now, like in California and other places where there's these bars that are having these big mocktail menus. And stuff.
They have a giant mocktail menu there. It's super popping actually, because I see it on my Instagram feed all the time. Everyone's going to Happy Accidents.
Yeah, it's cool.
So I don't know if it's new or not, but at least for me, it's like blowing up right now.
Yeah, it's nice, but I do know that that I think it's just the start of that, and I do think that part of that's the cannabis culture too, because I guarantee you a lot of those people that want those non-alcoholic drinks, they might have just dropped a gummy before they went, and then they're
already a little stoned.
I'll just have that. People microdose on shrooms now too, and a lot of times when people do that stuff, they don't want to do that and then go drink and ruin it.
They'll get horrible.
But they still want to be in. Yeah. And that's how my husband and I are. We still want to be like in the
bar scene, the social scene.
Yeah, we still want to be out and about and get to know people and talk to people.
You want to play darts. You want to play billiards.
Yeah.
You want to meet folks.
And I never wanted to be. There is people in the program that talk about how they can't, like it's like to go to a wedding even is just like
too much.
Very, very stressful situation. And by all means, if going to a wedding is going to cause you to drink and you're an alcoholic, then don't go.
Yeah, don't go. Absolutely.
But I don't want to live my life that way. I don't want to tell other people what to do. I do know for me that when I'm in a bar situation and around people drinking, and I'm the only one, let's say that's not, like I used to sell insurance, and when I got sober, I was still selling insurance, and total drinkers in this industry. And so, I'd go to all the little insurance meetings, and everyone would be drinking, and typically after about everyone had their second drink. Right when they start getting on their third drink is about the time I split. And honestly, no one the next day ever said, where'd you go?
Yeah.
They don't even notice.
No, because they're by the time they're 3 drinks in.
Yeah.
What I found is that, at least for me specifically, 2 to 3 is kind of my sweet spot of I'm feeling a good buzz, because I'm such a lightweight.
Yeah.
So I feel like a great buzz, but I'm not drunk.
Yeah.
Once I hit to 4 or 5, I don't think I've ever even been to 6, but once I hit to that range, I'm still I'm a happy drunk.
Yeah, but just more sloppy probably. Yeah,
I'm very sloppy. I'll be slurring my words. And
people get sloppy
funny.
After 3.
Yeah.
I've been sober too long now and watched it too because I'm around it. I put myself around it because it doesn't bother me, and always after everybody's. I say this all the time, and I've even said it to sponsees. I'm like, watch, because I've had sponsees that have struggled, with it, and I'm like, okay, and they're going to be in a drinking situation or whatever, and I've told them, I'm like, okay, wait till a person has a third drink, and just watch their demeanor, watch everybody once they go into their just watch what happens, watch, And I like even women. I was like, watch how like they're like they put all this makeup on. They look so beautiful. Watch them after 3 drinks. It's like makeup starts dripping. Like
the
everything.
Eyes get kind of
I think
like
eyes start watering and stuff.
Yeah.
So everything starts changing, and then the guys start looking more weird and sloppy.
Yep.
And so it's out. There's something about that drink that I notice it pits people over.
Yeah. And it turns you into a new person. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? You can be a good kind of drunk, right?
Yeah.
But it does change you a little bit.
Well, it changes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I like it how one of my best friends, her family owns my favorite New Mexican restaurant in the States called Tio Filo's in Las Lunas. Seriously, the best New Mexican restaurant ever.
There, but I know a lot of people in Las Lunas. Yeah,
you got to go to
Filo's.
Tio Filo's down in Las Lunas. And so my best friend's family owns that, and they also have across the street the mansion.
Oh, and it's right there.
Yeah, and they had a bar up there for a while when they had it open called the Spirit Lounge, you know. But her and I were talking about the other day, and she goes, "Yeah, Karie," she goes, "she's also in recovery," and she's like, she says, you know, she goes, think about it, when you put alcohol in you, it's a spirit, you know, so you're putting in like another, that's why they call it spirits. And she's like our spirit lounge. And she's like, so and I said, yeah, that's very true. And she goes, and every different alcohol has a different type of spirit. And I said, that's also very true, because I
different per person too.
I felt different on tequila than I did on, let's say, like gin.
When I drink wine, I become this like quiet little happy guy that's in the corner. Like, I'm like bubbly and warm. I'm like, I like this. But if I drink like old fashions, I just feel like sick.
Yeah.
It's just a different spirit. Yeah.
I always like on gin, I used to be a lot more like tequila. It used to always make me more like hyper, definitely. And gin, I got more aggressive. I noticed on gin, I would be like more like
ready to brawl.
Yeah, ready to brawl. Let's bring it. In vodka, I would just get more sloppy. I think, I don't know. Vodka's kind of what took me out at the end. So
the more and more because I'm still relatively new to drinking, and the more that I am drinking, the more and more I realize I just like the calm, like beer.
Yeah.
Beer and wine. That's kind of like my sweet spots. The heavier stuff, it makes me sick. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
So those are my spirits that I'm like, no, I don't want those spirits.
It's crazy what breweries have been. That's one area that I wish on breweries, I will say, if anyone's ever owns a brewery, I wish that they would be better about non-alcoholics in there in terms of what they would offer, because some of the breweries here in town really have great food and stuff like that. Yeah. But if you want to go there, it's like to get it's talking about like mocktails, and I don't expect them to have a full mocktail menu, but like most of them will serve you like a Coke can, you know, or something like that. Yeah, or like so they don't really have they don't even have like fountain drinks and stuff like that. So it's kind of a bummer. Or like I can't even get an Arnold Palmer at most of the breweries, so it's kind of a bummer because they are so popular.
They're really cool. Like our bar is just down the street from a place called Differential Brewing. It's our favorite spot.
Which one's that?
Differential Brewing. It's right there off of Yale, and I think it's Garfield is this road. I don't remember what the road is. Right, a couple blocks down from Ghetto Smiths.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and it's like our favorite spot to go to, but it's just all beer.
Yeah,
that's all it is. So actually, speaking of bars, that's the last call.
Okay.
So I'm gonna let you, keep,
I will finish this off.
We have some more time, but it's not like I'm worried about you. You're not drinking, so it's as much as you want.
No problem.
Yeah. But yeah, I wish that the breweries did have a better scene with that, because that'd be cool. Because I have a lot of friends who are. I have friends who are recovering or who are mandated to not be able to drink or whatever.
Yeah.
And I wish that they could hang out with us more.
Yeah.
And they can't, because when we go to breweries, we're drinking beer, and that's not a bad thing. That's what breweries are for. But mocktails would be cool.
Yeah, or they just had there's been a few that have their own root beer or something like that, or just maybe a few more other options.
Has one, but I think they should have like a fortified.
I would love or if they had a kombucha selection, that would be really cool.
That'd be so cool.
Because kombuchas do give you a bit of a feel. There's some people in recovery that won't drink the kombuchas.
Because they technically have some booze in them. Right?
Yes, yeah. They're fermented.
They're fermented a little bit.
Yeah.
So it'll give you like a light spirit, but it's more healthy, if anything. If I remember correctly, what kombucha is. It's like a health drink.
Yeah. It has it's fermented, and so it's supposed to be more of almost like an apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
I love kombucha.
Kombuchas are cool. I really like kombuchas as well.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. I think that's something to push for in breweries, is to have just a more inviting space. Plus, they make more money off it. They can get people in the door.
Yeah.
Is it worth them investing the time, money, and resources into having menu available.
Yeah,
some might
maybe
say
not.
yes, some might say no. Some of my favorite breweries that I think should do it, Differential's one of them. I love that. That's my favorite place. I love it. We go to Alien Brew Pub a lot. Red Door's really cool. We always go to, well, I guess those are the big three. We go to like Anodyne sometimes and Sister, but they're not really brew pubs. Those are just bars, right?
Yeah.
I've heard of Broken Arrow. I heard Broken Arrow is really good.
Yeah.
But if they just had like kombuchas or mocktails, I love that name.
Mocktails, yeah. I hear more through. I live more vicariously through my daughters now and them going out to go do stuff at this because they're like your age.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that tell me where the different places are and stuff. But I do think sometimes I miss out on some good food. Some of the breweries have some good food.
Food trucks is where it's at because all the breweries get food trucks.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, food trucks are where it's at. We have a really cool food truck scene here.
We do. Yeah, we do. Yeah, and that's one thing in the summer. I do like getting out more and stuff. So my husband has a Harley, so we'll try to do little day trips or get out on that and go try to find food or whatever. Just kind of, find. That's more when we'll find them.
Do you ever go to like festival like Saturday? So Saturday is the Pride Parade. You're gonna go to that?
The which one? Oh, the Pride. Oh, we have. We did go last year. We probably will. We probably will do it again.
Nice.
It goes right by the parade's actually more. So I haven't gone to the fair, just the parade.
Just the parade.
But it goes right by our
awesome.
shop. Yeah.
As a bar, my crew here, we're actually going to be on a float for the Pride Parade.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll be looking for you guys.
Yeah, we'll be really excited. We're going to be passing out flyers for this place. I did want to ask you a couple more questions before I kick you out.
Sure.
What would be like your tips to quit? Because I know you already talked about AA, how important AA is.
Yeah.
What are some others? Because me, right? I'm an atheist. And
Yeah.
AA relies heavily on, from what I gather, God.
Well, they really get into the higher power and spirituality, but most people go in they're atheist.
Okay,
but
so it's not Christian based.
It is not Christian based
Okay.
whatsoever. It really is not. It's really more spiritual based, but you definitely going to hear about higher power and stuff like that.
Exists. It's
But
fair.
yeah, and it is part of the program for sure. But there is, for me, I think first and foremost, reach out to somebody else. Like so, for myself, what happened to me is the day that I knew I was struggling and I realized I was struggling and I needed help. It happened to be the day that my now husband had posted, he was in recovery at the time, he posted a year and a half sober, best decision I ever made. So I reached out to him and then I was like, listen, I don't know what to do. I'm struggling. Do I go to rehab? Do I do this? So there's something about talking to somebody else that's in recovery or another alcoholic. So I would just say reach out to somebody. If you don't know anybody, I really do suggest going to a meeting because you're going to be guaranteed to be in a room of people that are full of alcoholics that are going to be there just to help you. Do
you have a presence on social media that they could reach out to?
Yeah. So my social media is at Karie XOXO. No, it's at Karie. I'm sorry, I was giving my TikTok. It's my Instagram is at Karie_CBD, and people can reach out to me. People reach out to me all the time about, and I do suggest, like most people say, like what to do, and I do say, listen, what worked for me was going to a meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what worked for me.
That's a starting place for sure.
Because it got me into talking to other alcoholics, and I think that's why it works. Is because it's like even just like I went to a therapist too after I got involved in AA, but that was to help me with like past family trauma and stuff. And so, I mean, she wasn't an alcoholic. I can't connect with her the same way I can my sponsor because she's an alcoholic, and so we can have different conversations. And so I really suggest that even if you're not comfortable going into a meeting, just find somebody that has already done it and been there, or find a friend of a friend or something like that and try to get in contact with somebody because there's something about talking to somebody else that's been through it that just makes it a little bit easier to relate
Absolutely.
to.
How hard is that to reach out? Because I feel like that puts you in a very vulnerable position. Is that a difficult thing to do?
It's hard, but when you're ready, you're willing to do whatever it takes.
Okay.
And normally if it's a forced thing, like I know before I reached out, my mom was trying to force me to reach out to people because she knew I was struggling, but I didn't want to admit it to myself. Or she was having people call me even. And I would like listen, but I was just kind of more like doing it for my mom's sake, just to shut her up. But like it wasn't really like I wasn't ready. But when I was ready, then that's when I reached out to Mike and said, hey, like I'm struggling, I need help. And so I think when the person's ready, they will reach out and they'll be willing to do what it takes. So yeah, but that rock bottom is just different for everybody, unfortunately. So
is it possible to recover without hitting rock bottom? Or do you think that's like where
that's where you start, because then everything goes up from there.
If you never hit rock bottom, are you ever an alcoholic?
I think everybody's rock bottom's just different.
Okay.
So I don't think there's a magnitude. So someone's rock bottom might just be like they're super conservative and they woke up in a stranger's bed that next day and they're like can't believe that could be rock bottom enough, for them. And another person, it has to be that they're going to be in jail for 10 days because of a DUI. Another person, some people have to lose their house, their home, their family, their job. Some people have to be living on the streets,
and that's the rock bottom.
Or some people it has to be health. Mine was my daughter's. My youngest daughter at the time was 16, and she just had it with me. Mm-hmm. My oldest daughter wasn't talking to me, and I was in a very toxic relationship. I didn't have a job, and my physical health was giving out. That was my rock bottom. I couldn't even leave my house. I was so sick. So sick. Yeah. So I finally, and then I just knew that, and I knew it was alcohol, and I knew, so that was my rock bottom. But everybody's, and I wanted my daughters in my life. And
Absolutely. And I'm really sorry that you hit that rock bottom, but it sounds like by doing so, it puts your life on the next level.
Yeah.
Because I look at you now. You're in a relationship right now. You're married. You're in contact with your kids. Yeah. You have a social media presence. If I remember correctly, because I think I've seen you before, you have like kind of an influence going on.
Yeah, it's decent. So what really grew my TikTok. I got on TikTok at the beginning of the whole COVID, whatever TikTok thing, and back in 2020 or whenever that was, and I got that over to over 400,000. Cool. But that ended up growing. That coincidentally just grew my Instagram, because they would find me on Instagram, and so I got that one to they've kind of topped out. I think that one's like at 48,000, and they kind of stay there. They've kind of maxed out at those numbers. I don't know what it would take me to get from there to the next level of all of it, but at least it gives me a platform to talk about CBD. It gives me a platform to talk about sobriety, and that was my intent. So I guess I remember when I said I'm going to start really putting myself out there on social media, and hopefully I can connect to people to teach them about CBD and alcoholism, and I remember I said it, and the next thing I knew, it just had happened. Yeah, so
that's super exciting though. That's super exciting. At Karie_CBD.
Yep.
Your company is XOXO CBD, which is in Nob Hill. I'm gonna have to put some people on that.
I love it.
Even my parents are they used to be like kind of classic conservatives, but they're very open to a lot of things lately. I'm very proud of them. Very open to a lot of things lately, and that could potentially help them out a lot.
And even just the topicals. I mean, I get a lot of older patients that they don't want to ingest anything. They don't care if it's CBD, but they love the creams, and they come in for the, I get a lot of older people that have arthritis in their hands and their knees and their necks, and I sell a lot of topical, cream for people.
So there's everything from topical to ingest to smoke,
flour, vape.
Honey was my favorite.
Water.
I love honey.
There's all kinds of stuff. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So
well, I do gotta kick you out now.
Okay, no problem.
I really appreciate you coming.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Well,
come
cheers.
back anytime.